filled it in. No time for that doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse. Mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like told me, keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Refuse to lose, build the win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win. Yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in. Yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win. Yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode. And today, we going over some games. We got 8 games for y'all today. Some of these are some regular season finales, like Gonzaga, St. Mary's. Most of these games you got till next week for their finales. But we're going to hop right into it, man. 8 games, and we're going to start off with the ACC matchup 1 versus 2 in the ACC. Duke versus Virginia. Now, Duke is at home. They are 9.5-point home favorites. This game is 12 o'clock on ESPN, so in about 40-50 minutes. Now, like I said, this is 1 versus 2. Virginia's kind of been on a little streak. Duke has bounced back since losing to North Carolina, their only ACC loss. Virginia also lost to North Carolina, and they lost to Virginia Tech. Those are Virginia's 2 ACC losses. So, this is their only matchup for the year. Virginia wins, they'll obviously be in first place with the tiebreaker being head-to-head. Duke wins, they hold a 2-game lead in the ACC, and I think that clinches it for them, to be honest with you. But let's get into it. Sorry, I just had Chick-fil-A breakfast. Virginia, led by Theus DeRitter, averaging 16 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game. Malik Thomas, 12.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds per game, and Sam Lewis, 10.9 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game. Now, the X factor to me, I got big man Ugonna and Yesu, and his rim protection, man. He's averaging 2.6 blocks per game. He's a pretty athletic big. He's long. He has length. He's going to be big off the bench in terms of rim protection for Virginia. Hopefully, if you're Virginia, hopefully you can hit those threes on the outside, and he can help protect the paint. Now, for Duke, they're led by Cam Boozer, 22.7 points per game, 10.1 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, and 1.7 steals per game. Isaiah Evans, 14.5 points per game, and Caleb Foster averaging 8.8 points per game and 3.6 rebounds per game. Now, for me, for Duke, my X factor is Dame Sarr and his ability to play defense around the perimeter. Like I said, Virginia likes to get up threes. They can hit them. So his defense on the perimeter, fighting through screens and staying out of foul trouble, will be big on guys like Chance Mallory. Well, if he's guarding Chance Mallory, I doubt that. But Jakari White, who can shoot it. Sam Lewis, who can shoot it. So I think he's going to be big around the perimeter. But my winner, ultimately, I'm rolling with Duke to clinch at least a share from my knowledge. But it should be the entirety of the ACC if they win. I'm going with Duke, man. Duke, really, really good team. They showed it Saturday, actually a week ago, last week in DC by beating Michigan. Cam Boozer is one of the best players in the country. It's hard to stop him down low. Isaiah Evans, he can heat up at any moment. I think Duke is the best team in the ACC by far, and I think they are a tough team to beat at Cameron Indoor Stadium. So give me Duke at home to win against Virginia. Next, this is a big game in the Mountain West. We got San Diego State taking on New Mexico at the Pit. This game is 2 o'clock on CBS. New Mexico is 1.5-point home favorites. Now, San Diego State, is coming off of a big win against Utah State at home Wednesday night. Blowout performance. New Mexico, they lost to Nevada on the road. I want to say that was Tuesday night. Yeah, they lost to Nevada on the road Tuesday night. So New Mexico is a game and a half. No, yeah, I want to say a game and a half behind Utah State and San Diego State. And San Diego's tied with Utah State. They both split. So right now they are tied. But San Diego State has a big opportunity to get a big win to keep pace. And New Mexico has a chance to close the gap. Now, San Diego State, they are led by Reese Dixon Waters, averaging 12.9 points per game and 3.6 rebounds. Miles Bird, who's averaging 10.7 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 1.9 steals, and 1.2 blocks. And Magoon Guaf, who's averaging 8.7 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and 1.6 blocks per game. Now, to me, and that's if he plays, because I did see that he's questionable, the X factor is BJ Davis and his scoring ability, averaging 10.3 points per game. And the loss against Nevada, for New Mexico, that is, Nevada had 3 players score 20 points. Elijah Price, I want to say Corey Camper, and I want to say Tyshawn Comer all scored 20-plus points out of the 67 points that Nevada had. So his scoring ability is going to be huge at the guard position for San Diego State to beat New Mexico at the pit. Now, for New Mexico, they're led by Jake Hall, who averages 16 points per game. Tomislav Buhan, who averages 11.7 points per game, 9.8 rebounds, and 1.1 steals per game. And Dayton Aubrey, who's averaging 11.7 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game. Now, my X factor for New Mexico is going to be Antonio Chol and helping with the paint presence. I mean, you could throw JT Rock in there as well. He's also a tall guy who can shoot the 3-ball, JT Rock. But I think they're going to have to establish some type of paint presence and paint defense against the San Diego State team in order to help win this ball game. And this is a tough ball game to pick. And I ultimately picked New Mexico at the pit because they're just so tough to beat at the pit. Yes, I know they had that week where they lost the 2 home games in a row. But that's the only 2 home losses on the season. So I think New Mexico's the pit is tough to stop. Again, now both teams, both teams are susceptible to scoring droughts. San Diego State is a really good team, defensive team, but so is New Mexico, in my opinion. So I'm giving New Mexico the advantage being at home at a tough environment to go in and win. That is the pit. So give me New Mexico to, I would say, outlast San Diego State. Next, we got a rematch. This team that is 14th in the country, Kansas, no Darren Peterson, takes on the undefeated number 1 Arizona team at the time on a Monday night, 9 o'clock, and they win. So this time, Arizona's now in Tucson. They're at home. Darren Peterson should be playing. Koa Pete is probable, but everybody expects him to be back today in this top 15 matchup. We have 14th ranked Kansas taking on 2nd ranked Arizona in Tucson, 4 o'clock on ESPN. Arizona is 9.5-point home favorites in this matchup. Kansas is led, like I said, by Darren Peterson, 19.5 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 1.1 steals. Flory Badunga, 14.3 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, 2.8 blocks per game. Melvin Council, 13.5 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 5.1 assists, and 1 steal. And to me, their X factor is going to be Bryson Tiller because Arizona has a rotation of 3 bigs of Krivas, Toby Owaka, and Koa Pete, who, again, should be making this return today. So Bryson Tiller is going to have to help with the defensive responsibility in that paint, which Bryson Tiller is averaging 6.2 rebounds per game and 1.5 blocks and 8.9 points per game. So Bryson Tiller is my X factor there. Now for Arizona, they're led by Braden Berries, who's averaging 15.5 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 1.6 steals. Koa Pete averaging 13.8 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, and Jaden Bradley averaging 13.9 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 1.6 steals. Now my X factor for Arizona is Anthony Del Orso. He has the ability to knock down the 3-ball. He's not shooting it the greatest. He's shooting 32%, but he has that ability to knock it down, and he has the ability to score. He's averaging 9 points per game, and I think that's going to be big against this Kansas team. I think they're going to need his scoring ability, and ultimately, I did pick Arizona to get the upset at home. Now, that game against Kansas on Big Monday was really, really good. I mean, it was a nice back and forth. Kansas pulled away late, not pulled away in terms of like blew them out, but they just won it late in the ball game. But for Kansas on Mondays under Bill Self, undefeated, they just find ways to win. This game, however, I think Arizona gets their revenge, man. I think Arizona, they welcome back on Pete. They got the home crowd behind them. So when they gain the momentum, you know the crowd is gonna be rocking. I'm taking Arizona to get their revenge against Kansas. Next, got some Hilton Magic, man. We got 16th ranked Texas Tech taking on 4th ranked Iowa State. Game is 4 o'clock on CBS. Iowa State is 10.5-point favorites in this matchup. Again, Texas Tech is without J.C. Toppin. Speaking of Texas Tech, they're now led by Christian Anderson, averaging 19.6 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 7.7 assists, 1.3 steals. LaJuan Watts averaging 12.2 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and Donovan Atwell averaging 13 points per game and 1.3 steals per game. Now, the X factor to me is going to be Jalen Petty. Jalen Petty is scoring 9 points per game. I think he's been lifted into the starting lineup. So he is going to be my X factor for Texas Tech, usually. Now, Iowa State is led by Tamin Lipsey, averaging 13 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and 2.2 steals. Joshua Jefferson, 16.6 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 1.5 steals, and Milan Momcilovic, who's averaging 17.4 points per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Blake Buchanan. With the loss of J.T. Toppin, Joshua Jefferson, Blake Buchanan all have to dominate the paint. They got to take advantage of the fact that J.T. Toppin is no longer with Texas Tech for the year due to a torn ACL. He's averaging 8.3 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 1 block. So I think he's going to be big. And I'm ultimately taking Iowa State, the Cyclones, to win it. Why? Because Hilton Magic, man, undefeated at home, has a chance to finish the season undefeated with the win here and then a win on senior night against Arizona State. And again, Texas Tech is without J.T. Toppin. So I'm going to take Iowa State to win this ball game and keep pace. I want to say keep pace with a Big 12 championship opportunity. But I'm taking Iowa State in this matchup. Shout out to Zach McName, 7473. Appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully you like the stream. Hopefully you like and subscribe. Next, we have Alabama, 17th ranked Alabama taking on 22nd ranked Tennessee. Tennessee's coming off a loss to Mizzou on the road, which I call as an upset. This game is 6 o'clock on ESPN. Tennessee is 4.5-point home favorites, getting some home cooking back at Rocky Top after a tough loss. Bama is on the road again, man. And speaking of Bama, LeBaron Fillon is questionable. It's undisclosed why he is questionable from what I saw, but he is questionable for this matchup. I think he's going to go, though. I think he's playing. But Alabama is led by said LeBaron Fillon, averaging 21.3 points per game, 5 assists, and 1.2 steals. Aiden Holloway averaging 16.9 points per game, 4.1 assists per game. And Amari Allen averaging 12.5 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game. With their X factor to me being Aiden Sherrill, with his paint presence averaging 2.3 blocks per game, going to be dealing with JP Estrella, Felix Okpara, Jalen Carey, and he does have the ability to shoot the occasional 3-ball. But that's my X factor for Bama. Now, Tennessee, they're led by Jacoby Gillespie, who's averaging 18.1 points per game, 5.4 assists, 1.9 steals. Nate Amick, who's coming into his own, 17.9 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 1 steal per game. And Felix Okpara averaging 7.2 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.3 steals. Now, my X factor for Tennessee is going to be Bishop Boswell. And his ability to score averaging 6.8 points per game, because Alabama, y'all know how I feel about Bama defensively, not really good. So Bishop Boswell has to be able to get off today. And speaking of Bama being bad defensively, hey, shout out to you for stopping by. Good luck in your hockey game. Hope all goes well. But speaking of Bama being bad defensively, that's why I'm rolling with Rocky Top and Tennessee to win the game, because Tennessee is too good of a team for you to be giving up. I don't want to say easy buckets, but I'll just say easy buckets for lack of a better term. And I think Tennessee is actually one of those teams that are actually pretty solid defensively. And they could score against a team like Bama. They're solid defensively. I think this is a very bad formula for Bama today. Give me Rocky Top at home to beat Bama and upset them in the traditional term of college basketball, 22 beating the 17. So give me Tennessee. Next, we have Villanova taking on 15th ranked St. John's. Villanova is coming off a win against Butler, while St. John's is coming off of a terrible second half performance against UConn, where they couldn't buy a basket in the second half. UConn had that game controlled from start to finish, it felt like. So St. John is definitely looking to bounce back against Villanova. This game is 8 o'clock on Fox. St. John's are 7.5-point favorites. Now, Villanova, they're led by Akin Lewis. To me, a phenomenal freshman, averaging 12.9 points per game, 5.2 assists, and 2.1 steals. Tony Perkins, who's averaging 13.7 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. And Duke Brennan, averaging 11.9 points per game and 10.4 rebounds per game. Now, the X factor in this one for me is going to be Devin Askew, and they're going to need his scoring off the bench. Devin Askew is averaging 9.7 points per game. They're going to need his scoring off the bench. I think that's going to be critical for the Villanova Wildcats, who is pretty good defensively, but just like some other teams in the country, they're a team that can definitely go cold from the field. While St. John's, led by Zubi Ejiofor, is averaging 15.6 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, 1.1 steals, and 1.9 blocks per game. Bryce Hopkins averaging 13.8 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 1.1 steals per game. And Osiah Sellers averaging 10.7 points per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Josan Shannon and his scoring ability, averaging 8.3 points per game, and his ability to penetrate and attack the basket. I think that's going to be good against these Villanova guards that can defend. They're like I said, Villanova is a really solid defensive team, and I think his ability to penetrate and attack the basket is going to be big for St. John's. But I'm ultimately rolling with St. John's, man. Again, home cooking, coming off a terrible performance where they shot it super cold against UConn. I think that Rick Pitino is going to use that to refocus them. I mean, they were on a crazy win streak. It was something bad was bound to happen. You got it out your system, it's flushed, and it's just unfortunate for Villanova. They're the next opponent because normally when somebody shoots that bad, you could kind of see the next game they be hot from the field. So I think that St. John's comes out with a point to prove, and they're still trying to keep pace with UConn because only a half a game behind UConn. This will actually tie it because I don't think UConn – oh, no, UConn does play Seton Hall today. And they play after. So they would either have a chance to tie UConn or if somehow Seton Hall wins, take over first place again. So St. John's, I think they're going to come out looking remotivated and then get the job done against Villanova. Next, we have Arkansas at Florida. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I did know this was a ranked matchup, but I wasn't going to talk about this at first until I looked at the SEC standings again and saw that Florida was in first, obviously, and by 2 games. And then I saw that Arkansas and Bama were actually tied for second, both 2 games behind Florida. So this is essentially first versus second in the SEC, so I have to talk about it. Now, Arkansas is 20th in the country. I can't remember who they just beat. They just beat somebody. I can't remember who. Florida, like I said, they've been dominant this whole SEC. They actually just now the score doesn't indicate it because they made a late run to steal the game, but that Texas game was looking very ugly for Florida for a long time. But this game was 8:30 on ESPN, and Florida is 10.5-point favorites in this matchup. Now Arkansas, they're led by I know I've been saying the word phenomenal, but he definitely deserves it. Phenomenal freshman Darius Acuff, who's averaging 22.2 points per game and 6.2 assists per game. That's what they just beat. They just beat Texas A&M. I remember now. They just beat Texas A&M. But Malik Thomas averaging 15.2 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. And Trevon Brazile averaging 12.7 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, 1.5 steals, and 1.6 blocks per game. Now, the X factor to me is going to be Malik Ewing because Florida has a lot of size with Condon, Hout, Chenalou, guys. They got a lot of size. So even the guy that don't play, Oliver, I forgot his last name, but he's like 7'9". Oh, I didn't really forget it. It's just like hard to pronounce. But anyway, he's 7'9", but he doesn't really play like that. But Florida has a lot of size. And I think Malik Ewing is going to be very pivotal in trying to counteract Sid's size. He's averaging 9.6 points per game, 5.1 rebounds and 1 block. So it's my X factor for Arkansas. Now for Florida, they are led by Alex Condon, averaging 14.3 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 1.5 blocks. Thomas Houck, who's averaging 16.9 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 1 steal, 1 block. And Ruben Chinaloo, averaging 11.3 points per game, 11.5 rebounds per game, and 1 block per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Boogie, man. Boogie, coached by Calipari, left Arkansas, coming to Florida. Could be, quote unquote, a revenge game for him. And I think him scoring the ball would be big for Florida. He's averaging 11.5 points per game. Normally, when him and Xavier Lee have it figured out, Florida's a tough team to stop. And I think he's going to be a little extra motivated going against his former head coach. So I'm going to pick Boogie Flan as my X factor. But, I mean, man, the way Florida's been playing this way lately, and as bad as I think Arkansas defense is, I'm going with Florida. Not only do I think Arkansas defense is bad, I think Florida is really good, and they can score with the best of them in the country. And I feel like Arkansas relies too much on the production that they're starting 5 for at school, to go against a school like Florida. So give me the Gators at home, by the way, to get Arkansas up out of there. And the last game I got for y'all is another mid-major game. We have, actually, this is the only mid-major game, technically. No, because I talked about my own West. So I have 2 mid-major games. It depends on how you look at the Big East. But we got 9th-ranked Gonzaga at St. Mary's. This is huge. This is the last regular season matchup, conference-wise, unless things change down the road. Between these two teams, Gonzaga leaves for the Pac-12 next season in basketball. So this is the last WCC regular season matchup between Gonzaga and St. Mary's at this current moment. 10:30 on ESPN, and Gonzaga is actually 1.5-point road favorites against St. Mary's, who is undefeated at home. Now, implications here. Gonzaga wins, they win the WCC championship outright. St. Mary's wins, then they win a share of the WCC title with Gonzaga because Gonzaga beat them earlier. Gonzaga is a game in front of St. Mary's, so they will be tied amongst the standings. They'll win a share of the WCC going into the WCC tournament next week. Now, Gonzaga led by Graham Ike, averaging 19.8 points per game, 8.4 rebounds per game. Tyon Grant Foster, 11.1 points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, and 1.1 blocks per game. And Mario St. Superi, averaging 8.7 points per game, 3.7 assists, and 1.4 steals per game. Now, the X factor to me is going to be Braden Smith and his ability to run the offense. He's averaging 3.9 assists per game. And to me, if the game or when the game slows down, if he's in the game, he's going to be key in running the offense. Now, for St. Mary's, they're led by Paulus, and I practice Maruskis, who's averaging 18.9 points per game, 7.9 rebounds per game. Mikey Lewis, the shooter, averaging 13.4 points per game, and Joshua Dent, averaging 13.3 points per game, 5.8 assists, and 1.6 steals per game. Now, that X factor to me is again going to be Austin McKeever because he's going to have to help control the paint beast that is Graham Ike, who can also shoot it from the outside, which is kind of new. But again, no Braden Huff for Gonzaga, so a lot of the focus will be on Graham Ike. And I think Austin McIver will be big in that. He's averaging 8.5 points per game and 9.2 rebounds per game. But ultimately, my winner, St. Mary's. I think St. Mary's remains undefeated at home, finished the season undefeated at home because, one, Gonzaga, while really talented, they do struggle, or they have been struggling, with no Braden Huff. We've seen them lose to Portland on the road. They're going against a tough environment in St. Mary's. Again, 2, St. Mary's is undefeated at home. And I think St. Mary's can play in multiple ways. They can speed up if you need to. They can play I think they can play in slow-paced games or half-court sets. And they have size. And all of those things, I think, can affect Gonzaga. Now, Mark Few, great coach. I think Mark Few, and Randy Bennett, both great coaches. They're used to each other. So this could be a chess match at some point. But I think ultimately St. Mary's gets the job done at home, and they tie a share of the WCC championship. Now, that's all the games I have for y'all today. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you like what you're listening to. I appreciate anybody and everybody that stopped by. But liking, commenting, and sharing helps the network and helps the channel. Speaking of the network, We are a network, and we have multiple shows. We have shows like The Main Show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave every Monday and Thursday between 7 and 8:30. I'm going to just say 7 to 8:30 at this point. But variety of topics there. We have Unfazed, who just went live, I think, what was it, Thursday? When did Nuggets and the Nuggets and the Celtics play? I want to say that was Thursday. Yeah, I want to say that was Thursday because I think they played the same night. Purdue got beat by us. But anyway, they just went live recently, talked about the MVP, talked about scary teams or sleeper teams in the East and West. Bunch of NBA topics. Let's join AJ. Catch them when you can. Next, we have BWT, Baseball with Teddy. World Baseball Classic starts soon. Spring training has started. Baseball is back next month, so be on the lookout for BWT. We have FFC Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs, Fantasy Football Show. Obviously, NFL season is over, so fantasy football is over. But be on the lookout for the content he has provided for you when he drops it. Right now, we're going through the scouting combine where some of these players are putting up crazy numbers. Next, we have RBO Real Ballers Only. NBA show featuring Vaughn. I mean, my Pistons won last night, but it's not something I was happy we won because we won, but in reality, that's not a victory to celebrate, to be honest. These last two victories the Pistons won, not really celebratory victories. I mean, at this point, you got to get them how you can because of seeding and everything, but kind of disappointing wins. But anyway, be on the lookout for his show. We have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sport. I think he dropped last week, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a week ago, I should say. We have In the Red Corner featuring Tyreek and Tomo boxing episodes. For all your boxing needs, check out In the Red Corner. They go live on Sundays, not every Sunday, but when they do go live, it is on a Sunday at 6:30. And it's like I said, that's Tyreek and Tomo. And we got Zero Sports Talk with Griffey. New show on the channel. New show, so I don't really know like scheduling wise when he drops. I don't even think he did a live episode yet, but just whenever you can, just check him out. And that's all the shows we have on the network. So please like, comment, share, subscribe to those shows as well. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now, I will be back for this week in college basketball tomorrow. MSU plays Indiana tomorrow. Should be a good game because it is in Bloomington. But for sure, we'll be back for this week in college basketball. And then we got some conference tournaments to predict next week. I think that's going to be on Monday, as well as picking some regular season games on Monday. But be on the lookout because it's about that time where it gets hectic for CTC with championship week and all these tournaments and stuff. And I'm excited. But y'all enjoy yourselves some college basketball today. I'll be back tomorrow. Until next time, I'm gone. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.